You are not overwhelmed because life is impossibly hard. You're overwhelmed because your brain is trying to protect you. Every difficult conversation becomes a disaster before it begins. Every small decision starts feeling like it could change everything. And without noticing it, you spend more time surviving imagined futures than living your actual life. Think about the last thing you avoided: an email, a phone call, a decision. You knew, logically, it probably wasn't that serious. But your mind didn't care about logic. It reacted as if something important was at stake. Why? Because your brain was never built for comfort. It was built for survival. For most of human history, assuming the worst increased your chances of staying alive. A shadow in the dark could be nothing, or it could be danger. Those who treated uncertainty as threat survived more often than those who didn't. Your brain learned that lesson deeply, even if the world has changed completely. Today, the danger isn't predators, it's judgment, failure, rejection, public mistakes. But your brain reacts the same way. Have you noticed how quickly your mind jumps to the worst outcome? You think about speaking in a meeting. Your brain shows embarrassment. You think about applying for something better. Your brain shows rejection. You think about changing something in your life. Your brain whispers, "What if it goes wrong?" Psychologists call this negativity bias. Rick Hansen describes it simply: the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. A compliment disappears. A criticism stays. One awkward moment can replay for years. Your brain thinks this is protection, but it often becomes punishment. You begin suffering twice: once in imagination, once in reality, and sometimes only in imagination. How much of your stress is actually happening right now? And how much is happening in your predictions? Research from Pennsylvania State University found that a large portion of human worries never actually occur, yet your body reacts anyway. Your heart races, your breathing tightens, your focus narrows, as if the future were already happening. Then your mind escalates it further. One thought becomes a chain reaction. I might fail becomes everyone will judge me. Then I'll lose respect. Then it will ruin everything. The human mind is extremely skilled at building stories, but not always accurate ones. Daniel Kahneman showed that the brain relies on shortcuts to make decisions quickly. These shortcuts are useful, but they distort reality. They turn guesses into certainty. Possibilities become facts in your mind, and fear starts feeling like truth. That's when life begins to feel heavier than it is, because you're no longer reacting to reality, you're reacting to interpretation. Then comes another layer: perfectionism. It sounds responsible, even impressive, but often it's just fear in disguise. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. Brene Brown distinguishes perfectionism from healthy striving. One is about growth, the other is about protection. One moves you forward, the other keeps you frozen. How many things have you delayed until you feel ready? But readiness rarely arrives. Then overthinking takes over. You replay situations, you analyze choices, you search for certainty. But thinking more doesn't always create clarity. Psychologist Barry Schwartz showed that too many choices often increase anxiety instead of reducing it. The more options you consider, the harder it becomes to choose. What if there's a better option? What if you regret this one? What if you make a mistake? Even simple decisions start feeling heavy. Your brain wants certainty, but life doesn't always provide it. And that's where the struggle begins. Not in reality, but in the demand for control over it. Your brain is not your enemy. It is trying to protect you. Worry tries to prepare you. Avoidance tries to reduce pain. Perfectionism tries to prevent rejection. But these strategies belong to an older world. They were useful when survival was uncertain, not when modern life is emotionally complex. Avoidance reduces discomfort today, but increases fear tomorrow. Perfectionism prevents criticism, but also prevents action. Overthinking creates the illusion of control, but steals momentum. The challenge is learning to question your own mind. Psychologist Albert Ellis argued that it is not events that disturb us, but the meaning we attach to them. The meeting is not the threat. The story about the meeting is. The conversation is not the danger. The interpretation is. This changes everything because thoughts are not commands. They're suggestions. You can pause them, examine them, ask whether they are accurate, ask whether they are useful, ask whether they are even yours. Sometimes you'll realize they're just fear speaking loudly, not truth speaking clearly. Think about how children learn to walk. They fall constantly, but they don't stop. They don't turn one fall into identity. They simply try again. Somewhere along the way, adults lose that ability. Mistakes become meanings. Failure becomes identity. Discomfort becomes a warning sign instead of a normal step in learning. But everything you are good at today was once unfamiliar. Everything. Growth has always required instability before stability. So what if uncertainty is not danger? What if it is simply the beginning of learning? Life will always contain difficulty. That won't change. But unnecessary suffering comes from resisting what is already happening. Your brain will keep producing warnings. That is its job. But not every warning is a fact. Fear is information, not instruction. You can feel fear and still move. You can feel doubt and still act. You can feel uncertainty and still continue. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that fear doesn't get full control. The email gets sent. The conversation happens. The project begins. And something important happens over time. Your brain learns. It realizes that discomfort is survivable, that failure is not fatal, that rejection is not destruction, that uncertainty does not mean danger. Confidence doesn't come first. It comes after. One action becomes evidence, then another, and slowly the story in your mind starts to shift. Maybe things are not as dangerous as you thought. Maybe you're more capable than you assumed. Maybe your mind has been exaggerating for years in an attempt to protect you. And maybe growth has been happening quietly all along. The next time your brain tells you everything is too hard, too risky, or too uncertain, pause. Ask whether you're reacting to reality or reacting to prediction. Because your mind can create very convincing stories, even when they are not true. And most of the time, reality is more manageable than fear imagines. You were never meant to eliminate uncertainty. You were meant to learn how to move with it, step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment. So when your brain insists that you cannot handle what's ahead, remember what it is doing. It is trying to protect you. You can appreciate that and still choose your own direction, because you are more than your first fearful thought, more than your worst prediction, more than the stories fear tells when it wants control. You are someone who can act even without certainty. And maybe that is what courage has always been. Not waiting for fear to disappear, but moving forward while it is still there. Because you are not overwhelmed because life is impossibly hard. You're overwhelmed because your brain is trying to protect you. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more videos like this.